Welcome back, everybody, to the College Hockey Mouth podcast, episode 14. And guys, first semester is nearly wrapped up around the ACHA club hockey world. Danny, boom, welcome back to the podcast. We're also joined alongside Cameron Johnson. Cam, welcome. This is your first time, I believe, on the pod as a co-host. So we'll let you take the reins, man. How you been?
I'm doing all right, man. Just like, y'all mentioned the semester being over soon. Mine's almost over very soon, so I'm just pushing to get there.
And yet you go to Southern Miss, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
And this is your freshman year, no?
Yeah, I'm a freshman.
How's it been? This is your first year in college.
A lot of learning, a lot of experiencing different things, and, watching hockey while I do it.
That's the best. Love that.
Yes, sir.
Great to hear from that. Cam, for those that are wondering, have you been to any ACHA events or experience with the club team there?
I've been to one College Hockey South event, and it was the Columbus Classic. I went there and watched the women play.
Nice.
And I believe we're going to touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a great weekend.
It was great.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Danny, how was your weekend? A lot of activity in the chats from you.
Yeah, I've been told that I talk about college football too often in my little intro that I do on the podcast here. And as Conor McGregor once said, this is not a therapy session, but you're going to have to bear with me because this is going to have to be a therapy session. I've got to start with eating my words because 2 weeks ago on the podcast when we had Lyndon Palmer, I said that my beloved Texas Longhorns, my childhood ride or die, I was feeling them. We just had a big win over Vandy. I said with my chest, with full confidence, they were going to go into Athens and beat Georgia. And I really believe that. Not only did they not win, but they laid the biggest egg I've seen from Texas football in probably 4 or 5 years. They had maybe a possession or two there where it looks like they could have hung in the game, but no. A lot of penalties, turnovers, mental mistakes, and I'm more disappointed in them now than I have been in a very long time. So that was great. But if we're going to talk about laying eggs, I think my beloved alma mater probably takes the cake. The great South Carolina Gamecocks. Devin, I don't know if you saw this because you were on the broadcast for the second FAU and Clemson game. It's been a tough season for the boys. There's no mistake in that. But you know what? They came out, played Texas A&M, number 3 team in the country. They played their best half of football the entire season. And they followed that up with their worst half of football of the entire season.
Might be the worst half of football anyone's played all season.
Pretty much. I mean, the line was Texas A&M minus 17.5, and they were legitimately in danger of covering after leading by 27 points at the half. It was 30-3, Devin, and A&M geared down on their last 2 drives because they were trying to bleed the clock a little bit. But if they played with their regular tempo, they definitely could have covered. Absolutely could have covered.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they blew a 27-point lead in 17 minutes of football. It was stunning, but honestly, it wasn't surprising at all. Like I said, this season's been a disaster. Started the year ranked 11th or 12th, and Lenoris was one of the favorites for the Heisman. It's laughable to think about now. But yeah, moral of the story is it was a depressing weekend, and I hate college football with every fiber of my being. But yeah, I think I've hit my quota for college football on the episode, so I'm done talking. Devin, how was your weekend?
Mine was eventful, and I like Beamer Ball. I loved hearing about him on the Netflix documentary. Doesn't look like it's working out for you guys, and I'll relate. Michigan State is really in the barrel of the Big Ten right now as far as football goes. Our weekend was fine watching FAU and Clemson. That team is so physical, and Will Van Siclen is one of the coolest players I've seen yet. Big surprise just seeing how much they use their 3-4 lines to get to the net. And it was an intense game too. Like, we had a massive FAU comeback. We'll talk about it later in the show. And like the entire time we're all just sitting there like, I don't think like FAU ever thought they could even do this because like they have been less than right to start the year. They have lost big margins, as people probably know by now. So fun times. And yeah, we got busy. It's the last home games of the semester. So we've got a long break coming up, but allows time for us to see family coming up with Thanksgiving and get to some other sports throughout the November, December months. Enough about us. We have another very special guest, and this one perhaps might be one of the sweetest we've had on. He is a founding member of the Trailer Park Sports Network, started in 2024 and covers all things hockey. Please welcome to College Hockey Mouth, Will Stevens. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been an eventful weekend. Alabama lost. That was cool. Sharks lost. That was cool. But we survive. We do the thing. We're in the trailer. It's a great day. Learning to play hockey. Was out with the boys. We watched a Huntsville Havoc game. They also lost. See, I'm like 0 for 3 this week. Annie, if you feel bad that both of your teams lost, I'm a San Jose Sharks fan.
Well, honestly, that doesn't make me feel any better. But no,
Look,
I mean the Sharks have some life to them. Gotta love what's going on with the teal people out there in San Jose recently.
oh yeah, dude, it's awesome. That they stopped going on adventure mode mid-game. Like, hey, we're gonna stay in the crease whenever we're playing goalie because skating out to the blue line probably a bad idea.
I still have that picture of, I think it's Nedeljkovic when the puck and the player was behind him in the net, and he's turned around and he's probably like 75 feet away from his crease. That's hilarious.
It haunts me. It haunts like that right there. Great way to start the year because I was like, you know what? It cannot possibly get worse than this. And then it did because we had a 2-goal lead in the third period against the Ducks in the very next game. And somehow, man, we were up by 1 with less than a minute left on the clock. Still somehow managed to lose that game.
Yeah, well, that's sports, and you cover your fair share of sports. How did you get Trailer Park Sports Network started?
All
What's your
right, so
background?
that's a long story. Buckle up. Buckle up. So
All right.
June 2024, I'm driving a forklift, driving a tugger, doing my thing, and I got fired from that job because of some situation with another coworker. He was trying to fight me. I didn't do anything. He was trying to fight me. They were like, you know what? Both of y'all are gone. And I'm at home. It's like about a week later, and I'm like, well, I'm making these social media videos and stuff, so let me just try and lock in and see if I can turn that into something, like I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Let's see if I can do something with it. And I made a video and it kind of blew up a little bit. And the dude who I made the video about came in my comment section. He said something I really didn't like. He said, your trailer screams a life of karma. And that lit a little bit of a fire in me, right? Because I'm sitting there like, you're a grown man, like 50 years old, talking about this 22-year-old, your life sucks because you live in a trailer. And I'm like, karma. You said that means karma. I'll show you some karma. The Olympics were about to come up. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do the thing. Let's cover the Olympics. Boom. Day 2 or day 3, I'm covering the swimming and video gets 200. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's wraps. Let's just I'm up every day, 1 a.m, covering every single Olympic event. I had a monitor and a TV and I had 4 events on both of them. And I was watching 8 events at a time, also watching some on my laptop. Cause I'm like, dude, I'm locked into everything that's going on. And I went from 1,100 followers to 15,000 followers in 3 weeks. And then I was like, yeah, we're doing this thing. I don't care about anything else. Like, we're doing this thing. And I saw a video by Chuck Aoki. Shout out to Chuck Aoki, one of my favorite Paralympians. I saw him make a video and he said, being a Paralympian during the Olympics is really weird because it's like being at this party and you're having fun. Everyone's having a great time. But in the back of your head, you're like, well, I got a party in a couple of weeks. And I hope everybody shows up to my party and gives this party the same energy. And I'm like, you know what, Chuck? I don't know a thing about the Paralympics. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Other than that they exist and they're for disabled athletes. Now I'm like, I'm going to cover your thing the same way that I covered the Olympics because I was giving energy up every single night, 1 a.m. I would go to sleep at like 9, wake up 1 a.m. just because I got videos to make. I got things to do. I got events to watch. And I did the exact same thing for the Paralympic Games. Team USA hits me up. Shout out to Miss Janelle Wynn. Love her. She's an amazing human being. She works at the USOPC. And she hit me up and she was like, hey, we love what you did for Team USA and especially what you did for our Paralympic athletes. Like, they don't get that. And they sent me something. And then I was like, am I really doing this? Like, because I get a box in the mail and it's just wrapped in Team USA stuff. And it's like, from Colorado Springs, United States Olympic and Paralympic headquarters. And I'm like, no, this is the craziest thing ever. Like, this is the craziest thing ever. And, open that up a couple weeks later, I'm sitting at the skate park and I'm like, dude, this is still like my personal account. Like, I need a name for this thing. This can't be my personal account anymore. And I'm like, yo, That dude said that thing to me, and I hopped on there and I was like, hey guys, what if I name this account Trailer Park Sports Network? Would y'all rock with that? And they were like, dude, get the LLC, trademark that immediately. Like, dude, I will follow you to the ends of the earth if you name it Trailer Park Sports Network. And then from then on, it was no longer my personal account. It was Trailer Park Sports Network. And, you know, you don't show up to the trailer park expecting regular people things. You don't show up to TPSN expecting regular sports. You don't. You don't show up to me expecting me, like, the only thing that's like mainstream that I cover is college football. Like, I've got videos in the vault about the curling that just happened this weekend. Schuster just went down. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Schuster has been representing Team USA at the Olympic Games for curling since 2002. 2002 was the last time there was a team without Schuster on it. It's the first time. You know, like, that's just, I care about all the stuff that nobody else cares about. Because I know I played college football as a small level athlete and at small NAIA. I know what it's like to be an athlete that no one cares about. I will not allow certain people to feel that way. I'm going to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that, like, you get some coverage, dog. You get some coverage. Like, I do as much with, like, sled hockey as I can because I love sled hockey, dog. And, like, here's another thing, right? Kind of motive behind why I care so much, right? The disabled community is a community that you can join at any point in your life. Any point in your life. That is not like any other one of the minority communities in the world. It is a community that you can end up in at any point in your life, at any moment. You have no idea. Wouldn't you still want to be able to do all of the things that you love? So being an able-bodied advocate puts it in, like, other able-bodied people, like, yo, we need to care about this stuff. So, you know, sorry for the little tangent, but
No, you're good. That's what you're here for.
We love to hear it because I've seen your coverage on everything under the sun. I mean, you were posting about, I think it was the Olympics, like sledding or sled racing, like downhill.
yeah.
Obviously, the Olympics have so many different
Bobsled.
sports. Like, does that love come from like a childhood? Like, did you grow up watching those events or like playing sports like that? Or you mentioned the football at NIA, but where does the passion come from for all these different sports?
I've been an athlete my entire life. Played baseball, basketball, football, lacrosse, soccer. I did gymnastics for a little while. I skateboard. Now I'm picking up hockey. I was a swimmer too. Like, I was a competitive swimmer, like going to Southeasterns and stuff till I was like 14. Like, I've just been a big sports guy, and it doesn't really matter what it is. I always say it could be underwater basket weaving. If it's a competition, and I'll put on a scuba suit and show up. I don't care. If something competitive is happening, I'm there. I just like watching people compete and go at it because, like, it's one of the better things that you can do, like, as a person, is like go against. And I love, like, this is why I like hockey, because it's competition, but it's a friendly competition at the end of the day. Like, I took the gloves off and I possibly broke your nose, but whenever this is all over, we're gonna dap up and go on about our day. You're not gonna talk about me in an interview after this. You're not, because you got respect for me. You respect your opponent. And that's just always how I've been. I love sports, and I always have the utmost respect for my opponents. That's just like rule number one. It's like one of the values I was taught growing up playing football down in the South. It was like, you don't overlook anybody. You always respect your opponent, because the second you don't respect your opponent is the second your opponent puts you 6 feet under.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to just start with, so we seen like your journey on TikTok and how you started to get into hockey and everything, and how has your fandom grown since then, would you say?
Man, it's been the wildest journey since I started watching hockey, because one of the main shifts that I noticed the most is that my demographic used to be like 60-40, like 60% men, 40% women. Like, and I, like, that was one of those things I really prided myself on, was like, this is a place where women can look and talk about sports, and they feel like they can be a part of the conversation, and they feel welcome and all of that. And I was like, that is an amazing thing. And then I started talking about hockey a lot, and the demographics switched up a little bit. Now it's more like 70-30, which still isn't terrible. Like, I know some creators out there that are like 80-20, 90-10 type deal. That's not where I ever want to be. I want everybody to feel like they can pull up and watch the thing. But
Right.
I have noticed there's like a lot more people that come around, and they like the regulars. You know, like, there's sometimes where you get people that show up and, you know, like, they're just watching a couple of videos, and then you won't see them in your comments or whatever. But like, there's regulars. Like, there's people that I know are gonna comment on every single video, like, because you're in the Discord server. You know, like, there's people that have told me they have my post notifications on now.
Right.
And like, that's something I never would have imagined. I'm like, dude, I'm just some dude from Huntsville, Alabama, that lives in a trailer in between a cornfield and a cotton field. Why do you care about me so much? And I figure it's just because I'm a regular dude. Anybody can do this thing. And I try to make sure that people realize, like, I'm a regular person and anybody can do this. And genuinely anybody. All you gotta do is pick up a phone and just start talking to it and just hope that you're interesting.
Right.
Have passion.
Right.
Right.
I want to pose a question to both Cam and Will, because Cam is also starting his journey as a content creator, Average Joe Sports Network on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, Cam.
Right.
One thing I got to take issue with, though. Okay, you're a passionate fan of the Vancouver area teams
Hmm.
and Vancouver Golden Knights, the new PWHL team, but you've been
Hmm.
given the Torrent, the Seattle
Yeah.
Torrent. You've been giving them hell, but you know what? You're a member of our team. You've done great work on our website, but another member of our team is an official member of the Seattle Torrent, and you're giving it to them online. Like,
Yeah.
I get
I
it's a
hope,
rivalry, but I
I
mean,
hope he's
come
not
on.
seeing my stuff. I hope he doesn't take offense to it.
Yeah, but so I want to talk about both of y'all's journey into hockey, because Cam, there was something in particular that got you into it, if I'm not mistaken. Go
It
ahead.
was the second. 'Cause I started watching the second game of Four Nations. That was when I honestly don't even remember who fought who, but I just remember there was a fight between the U.S. and Canada. That was the first game I watched, and I've actually changed the channel because I was watching the NBA All-Star game before that, but I was like, this isn't really interesting. Let's see what hockey's talking about. And that was the first time I ever turned a hockey game on. I watch it, I'm like, they're having a boxing match like 3 seconds into the game starting. This is awesome. Let me watch some more. And I thought I would find it boring at first because it wasn't like constant back and forth scoring, but I watched it, I tuned in. The first period ended, I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I see PK Subban, I'm like, okay, it's a black dude. I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. I feel represented, I feel seen in the broadcast. So I continue to watch, and then I see that we beat Canada in hockey. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm here to stay. This is awesome.
Mhm.
Then the next game comes, and I'm like, well, this is slightly less awesome, but I still enjoyed watching the game. So I decided to stay around, and next thing I know, I'm a fan of an NHL team.
I think Vancouver hockey, like for the last year before, not the one they had like the super losing record, but like the Sedin brothers, like if you watch like those years
Yeah.
that they were playing, some of the most unreal playoff games, but years of like triumphant stories in sports. Like Vancouver, of course, hasn't won the Stanley Cup, but I imagine you've
Yeah.
discovered just how passionate that fan base is too, right?
But yeah, I'm one of them. I was just talking about the game the other day. I was like, this is awful. This is terrible. I can't make it through a whole season of this, but I'm still standing in line to turn the game on every time we play. Just getting right back in line for some more.
Love that. Will, I want to hear your journey and how you became a hockey fan.
So look, I don't watch basketball. I really don't care. I'm a Cavs fan, and I've been a Cavs fan since 2011. They drafted Kyrie. That's who I stick with. I mean, I really don't care until the playoffs. I wasn't finna watch the NBA All-Star game. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. And I'm sitting there, and I had just got back from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Training Center, and I'm like, what am I like? I'm bored. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I really don't. There's not really much. I don't care. The NFL is kind of boring me, and I'm like, all right, word. You know, my homie Fizz was talking about this Four Nations thing. You gotta watch hockey. You gotta watch. Come on, like, dude, right? Like, you gotta watch hockey, dog. Like, and I'm like, I remember, like 2 weeks prior, I was like, dude, I don't care about no hockey. Black folks don't do hockey. I'm not watching hockey. And I saw PK, and I was like, all right, hold on. Let me lock in. So I watched the first game of Four Nations, and then I made that video where I specifically addressed PK. It was like, hey, you told me to tune into this Four Nations thing, and I did. And this might be the best professional sports product on the planet. The fans care, the players care, the refs care, the coaches care, everybody cares. They're leaving it all on the ice, and then it's all daps, all love as soon as the game's over. Like we got two countries almost about to go to war over a hockey game. like real spill finna go to war, and I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, I'm locked in. This hockey thing, I'm here to stay. And then PK ended up like sending me a DM and then put the video on his own story and that whole thing. And then from
That's
there, I've
awesome.
just been like, oh yeah, hey, if hockey's being played, don't care the level, don't care who's playing. If my favorite player's out, I could care less. I'm there. I sled hockey. Shout out Declan Farmer. Yeah, doesn't matter what the hockey is. I'm there. Men's hockey, women's hockey, blind hockey, deaf hockey. I'm there. I'm gonna watch. It's been like the most fun journey, you know. Like flash forward 4 months, I'm at the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
My fourth hockey game was the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, remembering that the Four Nations and specifically that game in Montreal, I remember watching that first period and just thinking like, this is the highest level of hockey and probably the most entertaining form of it like you could ever ask for. There's no way the last two periods are going to live up to this first period because energy was off the charts. I mean, it's Montreal, it's US versus Canada. 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. It was ridiculous. McDavid, I forget who he went coast to coast on, but
It's Austin
he
Matthews,
ended
bro.
up
I'll never
scoring.
forget. It's Austin
Man,
Matthews.
dude, that first 9 seconds, dog. I remember the next day after that, right? I showed my friend Josh, and Josh had the same mentality as me. I'm not watching hockey. Black people don't do hockey. And I showed him the first 9 seconds. He was like, yo, Will, can we go to a game? That was the first sentence
Yeah.
out of his mouth. That was actually the first sentence out of his mouth. Yo, like, we have a hockey team in Huntsville. Can we go to a game? Like, I didn't know hockey was jumping like that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like this hockey thing, like, I don't know any of the rules, nothing. At that point, I didn't know any of the rules, anything. I'm like, dog, we gotta go to a game. I still haven't been able to get him to a game because that's a Josh problem, not a me problem. I have invited him to multiple games and like bought him tickets to multiple games. He just doesn't come. So I just have to bring somebody else usually. But yeah, nah, dog, that first 9 seconds, I can't fathom how many new fans just the first 9 seconds of that game brought.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine are pretty insane.
Hey,
Changed the
Will,
landscape of hockey.
what's awesome is how you discovered, I think that's the best time to become a fan. And Four Nations was the best display of hockey that we've seen on a global stage in a number of years. Of course, COVID happened and the Olympic problems getting the skaters. Hockey's coming back to the Olympics. Thank God. That's going to be a ton of fun. So tying in all of this, how do you get connected with College Hockey South and find yourself at the Columbus Classic?
Well, I live in the South, so like that's step one. And then step two, right, is a big social media guy. So I'm just looking for, anything in the area that involves like hockey. So I'm like, yo, let me see if I can use my platform to help grow the game. I saw a College Hockey South post, I saw that they followed me already and was like, oh, word, follow back, send a message, boom, 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 connected with Savannah, you connected with, Danny, and then it's like, yo, will you come to the Columbus Classic? And I'm like, I mean, shoot, why not? Big Coach Jack guy. If Coach Jack is there, I'm pulling up, big dog. I am there. So, because I had already been to Columbus, because I went to Auburn's Prospect Days back in April, and that was super fun. Got to see some of the people that are committing right now. I got to see some of them play before, they committed to Auburn and anything. But dude, I was like, yo, Columbus Classic, why not? Seems like a solid thing to go to. It was a great tournament too. Boy. There's probably like a next question that is something about the whole, like, what was your experience? You don't even got to ask the question. Let's get into it, right?
Mhm.
Me and Cam go down there. It was a heck of a time, dog.
Yeah.
First off, shout out to Cam for coming down with me. That was like great experience.
Definitely.
Dude.
Yep.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. But we go down there and we weren't really expecting too much. We were kind of just like, okay, club hockey tournament, just gonna be a little chill thing. Dog, they're out there hooping. Like Chloe is a menace to society. Chloe might actually need to be nerfed because
Yeah, she
I'm
was
sitting
doing
there, like I'm sitting there, and it's just like, how, what? Did you just carry through 5 people and then just go top bins on the goalie? And did you just undress the defense? Just 1v5.
Right.
She had like 10 points in the first 2 games. I'm just like, yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah, imagine calling one of her games your first time doing play-by-play. I can't call her going coast to coast, deking the whole team, and then just going top right on the goalie. I can't.
Yeah,
It was
come
hard
on,
to call.
right?
That's one thing I want to ask you about, Cam, because I saw you post this and it it warmed my heart to see this because it was a video where you said like a few months ago I didn't even watch hockey and now I'm calling play-by-play for a hockey game.
Yeah, I
And
couldn't really believe it myself.
I thought that was so cool. But you did a great job and I'm
I felt like I did so bad.
hey man, you know what?
We all got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that's true. Yeah.
100%. I did
But
play-by-play a couple weekends ago, and man, I found myself so many times like I feel like I've been saying the same sentences over and over and over again.
It's a tough job, bro. It's tough.
Yeah, I would love to do it. Oh man, I feel
I
like
feel
I'd
like
be
you could do it.
dude. Oh, dog. I feel like I would be one of the most entertaining color commentators on the planet
The
because,
energy's definitely there.
dude, because I used to do it for my mom. Like that's how I even got into like doing stuff like this. People are like, how did you get into like knowing all of this about the sports, even though like these are non-traditional sports? I'm adopted. My mom's from Ireland. Dog, she didn't understand football or baseball or basketball or like, like any American, like anything that we do over here. So like I've been explaining sports to my mom since I was a child. Like doing this in video form and like doing stuff like this, it just feels natural because I've just been doing it forever. So I feel like I
Right.
could do the color commentary thing.
I think so.
Right.
I
And
definitely think so.
that makes us wonder, like, what's next for Trailer Park Sports Network? Do I think you've been to a couple NHL games now. We saw you out at the PLLL, the Premier Lacrosse League All-Star game. Like, what's next for you, and what do you want to do over the next couple months with your platform?
I want to get back to the roots. I want to get back to the like day one, what I was doing when I first started. Para profiles, like give the Paralympic athletes more of a platform, ramp up for the Olympics and the Paralympics, mostly the Paralympics. The Olympics, I really don't have to think too much about that. How do I get people to care about the Paralympics? I have to think about that. And that's important to me. Like, again, that's very important to me because I love the Paralympic collective that I work with, cultured, great people. Shout out to Danny and Brenna and all of them because, like, dude, they're some of the like craziest athletes I've ever seen, dog. Like, have you ever seen wheelchair rugby? Because if you've never seen wheelchair rugby, you got to tap in with wheelchair rugby. Like, dog, they're getting active. Like, they played on a basketball court and in full contact. Like, if you bump, like, sometimes the chairs be getting knocked over, and they just gotta like,
Yeah.
they get active.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
get
like
busy.
I wanna get back to what I was doing before. I want to fill the gap in the media world, in the sports media world. Like, what is ESPN too lazy to talk about? Like curling or any of the like things that have been going on, and like especially this weekend. Like we had a great weekend of winter sports. We had figure skating, we had speed skating, and we had the curling Olympic trials. And then we also, in 10 days, is the start of sliding season for bobsled and skeleton. So like, dude, there's a lot of stuff, and ESPN's not going to touch it. They won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, right? And that's why I exist. Like that used to be how I opened every video. Did you know that USA was playing cricket today? Probably not, but that's exactly why I exist. That's how I used to open every video. And I think I need to get back to the roots of some stuff.
What is your favorite sport, Paralympic, and what you've done in the past that you enjoyed the most? Can you pick one?
Lacrosse. It's not even hard to think about. It's lacrosse. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. There's indigenous roots to the sport. There's so much history there. It used to be a war sport. Like they used to play games of lacrosse over miles and miles of land. And that's why, Cam, have you ever seen the run out rule? Like where the closest to the ball gets the ball?
Yeah.
That during the indigenous times whenever they used to play the ball, because like they're playing over miles and miles and miles of field. They use it to
Right.
settle conflicts. They believe that lacrosse has healing properties, that by playing the game, it can heal you. Like,
Right.
and if you ever took a stick and just went out and played wall ball, you would believe it. You would believe it 100%.
Yeah.
It's a medicine game. Like, it's the most calming feeling ever, right? Like, you just go outside and you hit that flow state. You just boom, boom,
Yeah, get your
boom,
headphones on, put a little music. You're all right afterwards.
right? Like, you're
Yeah.
just, it's one of the best. It's one of the best things ever. So like, I'll always have a special place in my heart for lacrosse. I guess on the Paralympic side, goalball. If I was blind, I would play goalball. I would love to play goalball. It's one of the coolest things. It's one of the coolest things out there. It's like made specifically for people with disabilities, like visually impaired. I guess also sled hockey, because sled hockey is one of the cool ones. It's one of the few Paralympic sports, or one of the few adaptive sports, where you don't have to be disabled to play and hop in and play. Like you can be able-bodied and hop in and play. There's no classification system in the sport, so it doesn't mess anything up. It's just chances are you are going to be significantly worse than anybody that has a disability, because their chair is fully molded to their body and yours is not. And also they're ambidextrous. They're genuinely ambidextrous, and there's no way you are.
I was going to say, like, up in Michigan, Grand Rapids, I had the chance to call a sled hockey tournament. And, like, some of those kids, like, you would think that they could juggle, like, perfectly, because they were just, like, back and forth, twig to twig. And I'm
They get
like,
active.
this is nuts. Like, yeah, like, it's no joke. Like, you have to train for it. And be agile. Like you have to be really strong. I guess for you, what is your advice to anybody that's thinking about trying these sports or doesn't watch hockey in particular, wants to get into it? What is your advice to any of those people?
First thing I'd like to say is there's a sport for everybody. There's a lot of people out there that say, I don't like sports. I don't like sports ball. Like there's a sport for everybody. And that's part of the reason that I cover so many random things. Because over the months that I've been doing this, I get comments all the time of people like, I used to hate sports, but I didn't know that this existed. Or I used to hate sports, but I didn't know that women did this. And it's like, all you have to do is find one. There is genuinely a sport out there for every single person. It could be freaking ski joring, dog. It could be ski joring for all I care. I don't care what the sport is. There's a sport out there for everybody. If you don't know what ski joring is, like think rodeo plus skiing and then add in an obstacle course. Yeah. Dude.
It gets
I think you're
active, bro.
maxing out the different variables you can add to a sport. Like, I don't know
It
if
gets
you can.
active.
It
They get
sounds like
active.
it. Yeah.
I've shown it to Cam before. They get active. But I guess my advice for anybody that's like looking to get into hockey is just cut the games on. Don't worry about trying to have a team that you support or any of those things. Just try and follow. And whenever you cut the games on, don't try and follow the puck. That is don't try and follow the puck. Find a player that you care about and just watch them the whole time. Don't worry about trying to follow the puck whenever you first start watching. It'll probably take you like 5-6 games before you actually have the wherewithal to track the puck and see everything that's going on and understand why are they making this pass, and this pass, and this pass. It will take you a while. Just hop in. Just put your foot in the water.
And don't try to understand the calls either. I messed myself up by trying to understand goalie interference and icing for like the first 2 months. It's not real. Don't try to understand it.
Yeah, don't ever try to understand goalie interference. I promise you, they flip a coin in Toronto. Like I was in the
Just about.
actually when I was at the Stanley Cup final, I got to go because during the Cup final, there's a situation room in house. They don't have to go to Toronto; they have one in house. I was in there, and the first thing I did was look for the coin. The first thing I did when I walked in the room was like, I was like, "Yo, where's the coin that y'all used to flip for goalie interference? I know it's in here somewhere. It's not a real thing, dog. You can say it's a real thing." But like the most blatant goalie interference, they'll call it a goal. And like dude's 5 feet away from him, and the goalie interference, man, goalie interference. Hey, he interfered with him by being in his vision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a Canucks and Blackhawks game earlier this year. Bertuzzi, old Bert, had one called back on the most phantom goalie interference call, and everyone like they
I'm
got
not gonna get into
challenged.
that on here. I'm not getting into that on here because
I'm gonna get into it on here. How about that?
Bro,
Okay,
it
so
wasn't goalie interference.
See,
no,
See,
they said it was
look,
goalie interference, but it wasn't.
What? Yeah, because you're watching the Chicago. You're watching their broadcast. You're watching the Homer broadcast. That's what you were doing.
See, it wasn't goalie. See, look, it doesn't exist. We could pull up 5 plays right now and be like, "Is this goalie interference?" And none of us would be able to tell you the right call.
And icing is even worse. When I thought I understood it, I'd be like, "Oh, that was icing, right?" No, they were shorthanded.
But yeah, see, I got the hang of that one. But being a lacrosse guy, I got the hang of offsides and icing relatively.
I still kind of get offsides. I still don't really get it.
You know what I mean? Puck goes into zone before player goes into zone.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes teams get certain calls, but
yeah, but like your whole body got to be across the line, so you can just like hang your foot over and be like 95% in. But as long as your skate is still like on the blue line, you're Gucci. Yeah. They'll let it go. They'll let it fly. Also, like, dude, if they genuinely sat there and like actually called every single one of them, it'd probably slow the games down.
It would be so many.
That like, dude, if you're close enough, unless it results in a goal,
it'd be so many.
And then they'll be like, nope, we're not doing that one. Sorry.
If they called every single one, the Wild would be on even more power plays.
Power play merchants. Power play. 0-2 versus the Sharks though. Macklin Celebrini, King Mac, the GOAT.
He destroys
Hey,
them.
You know what? We got to get you out to. Yeah, I love Max Celebrini. He's on my fantasy team. I whooped Danny's butt. I whooped some other teams' butts with him. So I'm big on the youngsters. I love the youth movement with the Sharks. Hey, I want to say this, man. You're an absolute national treasure. We got to get you laced up in the skates, get you out at All-Stars. If you can, man, we want to see you at playoffs too. But thank you so much for coming on the pod and explaining your network and the sports you cover as a whole, because what you do is awesome.
Man, I appreciate you for having the opportunity. And I get in the skates. I get on the ice from time to time. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's definitely a factor of like there's too many people in there, so I'm too lazy to record it, or I'm by myself. Like I'll just go solo dolo and be like, I'm not putting up a tripod, dog. I'm just gonna like skate and just get a little quick sesh. But whenever I get an opportunity, and probably this week actually, I might be playing in a beer league game. I'm at least gonna coach it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm at least gonna coach in it. I'm at least gonna coach the game. I
Wow.
might just like step out on the ice, do the shoot around, warm ups and everything, and then just like Coach Will is gonna hop back in, and I will be sitting there screaming, "Get the puck in deep," because them boys never get the puck in deep.
Yeah,
And
you
you're
gotta
not a
get
hockey
it
coach
back.
if you don't tell them boys to get the puck in deep, right?
Yeah, you got to get it back since you lost your last game as a coach. You got to
Man.
get it back and win this one.
Man, my coaching record is I'm 0-1 right now, and the band has got to step it up for me, man. If I have to, I'll bring in a couple of ringers. I know some.
Yeah,
I'll
what,
bring in a
McDavid?
couple of
Gonna show up
ringers.
to your beer league?
And I could probably call PK. He does answer my messages.
PK, just come to Will's beer league, man.
That boy Purnell.
First name basis with PK.
Dude, he does not like that. I just do it because I think it's funny at this point. But yeah, man, All-Star, all of that stuff, dude, I'll be there. Like, I just need an opportunity, need to shoot me the date. I'll be there. I mean, I'm in the area.
We got you. We'll make it happen, stud. Thank you so much again for coming on this edition of the pod.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks to Will and Cam for coming on the pod, and Danny rejoining the fold with you here. Some fun conversations about their fandom as a Canucks fan for Cam, and Will with the Sharks. I saw a video of Will learning to play roller hockey, and he's actually pretty good. Like, I don't know how long he's been doing that, but the guy knows how to roll around. It's making me feel envious that I don't have my own pair of rollerblades right now, and I got to get out there and start tailing him a little bit.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him in Columbus about it, how he started rollerblading like a long time ago, and then just recently picked it up. But shout out to Will and Cam for joining. Thought it was really interesting his point of view on giving coverage and attention to non-traditional sports, because it can be against human nature to go against the grain like that, and to watch those out of the box kind of events. But he does it not just because he thinks it's going to get him extra views or anything like that. You could tell he has a whole lot of passion for it, especially the Paralympics. So I think that's an attitude that we all can learn from. And look, he ended up on the podcast because of it and in Columbus. So shout out to Will.
We wish nothing but the best for Trailer Park Sports Network, and I'm sure we're going to see him down the line as we get more into our official conference meetings for the rest of the teams here. And speaking of conference meetings, we have gotten the word of rankings, new rankings for M2, M3. Finally, we got to see what the men's Division II field looks like, and for the sake of this podcast and the College Hockey South Conference, 3 teams, mind you, we are going to focus on the Southeast Conference, which consists primarily of the TSCHL in the Midwest, the ACC, so the Atlantic Coastal Conference, and College Hockey South, along with some independents sprinkled in there. And Danny, our first ranking saw Tampa ranked at number 2 behind the ever powerful Florida Gulf Coast. They're always in the mix for the national championship conversation. Shortly following up was Florida Atlantic at number 8 and Florida at 13. This is what we came to expect, I think. I don't know if we knew for sure they were all going to be within the top 16 per se, but they're equally represented here, and I think it's pretty fair.
Yes. How perfectly timed that Florida Atlantic sweep was of Florida. It was the weekend before, and things weren't trending in the right way for FAU prior to that. So who knows what they would have looked like in the rankings before then, but they get a huge sweep, and Florida's looking good. They have opportunities against several other M2 teams down the line that are currently they're looking up at, which will be valuable. I feel like Florida Gulf Coast and Tampa are almost on a collision course. Florida Gulf Coast played in, I think it was a Lindenwood showcase over the weekend. A lot of the top teams at Division Two around the country were there, including Lindenwood, and Lindenwood went 3-0. Gulf Coast went 2-1, including beating Liberty, who's 9th on these rankings. But it just seems like Tampa and Gulf Coast are the clear cut 1 and 2 for me.
I agree. I think for Florida Gulf Coast being the independent what helps them is to play some of the West Coast teams. Included in that was Montana State. They travel, like you mentioned, to play Lindenwood. A lot of teams come to them, and I don't believe Florida Gulf Coast is going to lose this spot unless they find a way to drop out and second half of the year lose some games. So really what we're talking about here is the standings for regionals. Now, we did get confirmation that the regional format for this tournament is the top, was it 16 teams?
Yeah, so we have a certain amount of teams that'll be in the Southeast Regional. If the season were to end right now, we would have Florida, FAU, and Tampa, which obviously they'll have many more meetings down the line, including in our playoffs. Devin, were you able to find how many teams will be in that Southeast Regional?
In our quest for transparency and honest journalism, we want to get things correct and leave nothing in the dark. The thing I was trying to confirm was how many dang teams actually go to the regional, because that's what really matters to getting to ACHA Nationals. And I was able to find, even though the ACHA makes it damn near impossible to find, 16 teams go from each regional. So that's the key number that everybody needs to look at. 16 teams, and every team ranked 1 through 16 has got to go through the regionals this year. That's different than past years. In past years, the final regular season rankings, the top 2 teams would get the auto bid to the national tournament. Like you said, Danny, depending on how this happens now, I don't know if Tampa and Florida Gulf Coast would play each other. You have to win your first 2 days at regionals, and those 4 teams go on. So, I think what we'll have to disclaim is it's going to change some more. Whatever the ACC does in that bloodbath of a conference is going to shuffle those teams around, and it's going to reseed people. And Florida specifically needs to find some of their wins back against teams that they can handle, because their goal differential is going to matter a lot when they face against these ACC teams in the ranking.
Yep, and they have one of those teams coming up this weekend. We'll get to that when we get to the previews. Again, another initial ranking that is a positive one for College Hockey South. You figured we would see at least a little bit of representation in the Southeast region, but all 3 teams in the top 16, which would qualify for regional. Long way to go still, though.
No doubt about a long way to go. It's ranking number 2 of 7 or 8 we've got down the line here. And speaking of some rankings, number 2 came out for men's Division 3, and a bigger shakeup than we were maybe anticipating at first, but the South teams are starting to shuffle down the order, at least the ones in the middle of the pack. Still at number 1 is Middle Tennessee State, coming off some undefeated wins in conference play. They look like they could play in M2. I think you said that last week, Danny. South Florida is at number 3, USF. Tampa falls to the 4 spot from number 2. And then out of the rest of the top 16 that go to nationals, South Carolina's in there. Clemson, even though they're not nationals eligible, is on the bubble, so they still matter in the whole grand scheme of things. And then you see Miami, Florida Gulf Coast. How about Embry-Riddle still making the conversation?
Yeah, really fun to see where these teams on the bubble will end up. I think, we talked about it. We talk about it every episode because it seems like they play every single weekend. The boys need a break out there in Nashville or just outside of Nashville. Middle Tennessee, undisputed number 1. Hard to imagine they'll go anywhere if they continue on their kind of tear. They didn't exactly put pedal to the metal against a pesky Vanderbilt team this past weekend, but wins are wins, Devin. And I believe you've mentioned it as a Michigander. You forecasted that the Michigan teams would continue to climb up the rankings as their strength of schedule built. And I'm not exactly 100% sure how all these things work. All it matters to me is that our playoffs, our Division III playoffs, College Hockey South playoffs, are decided by these rankings. The standings are affected by these rankings. So our top 12 teams are going to be decided by these. So, irregardless of whatever the Michigan teams do, we're going to get our 12-team field based off of however the computer values our 12 teams.
The obvious thing I think people think of is, well, are the Michigan teams better? I'll say it this way. The teams from the Michigan Collegiate Hockey Conference have won somewhere around 9 of the last 10 national championships in men's 3. So they always have the strength of schedule builds. But without a team like Hope College there anymore, Saginaw Valley State, it's somewhat evening the playing field around the rest of the nation. You'll have to tune back into this week by week because this will change more. And we're going to get to some of our game recaps. Clemson in the game of the week took down Florida Atlantic M3 7-1. They controlled this thing from start to finish. Will Van Sicklen is a superstar in this conference. 3 of his last 4 games, he's got a hat trick, including 2 in this series. And Clemson had to kind of fight through adversity. They gave up 5 goals in the second period, day number 2, out of the Panthers' ice den. And seeing that in person was nuts. I don't know if I've ever seen a team score 5 goals in that quick of succession. Not in a long time. At the end of the day, the Tigers get the sweep. And with a great story, Josh Bailey in his final collegiate start as a grad student for the Tigers, Clemson, he gets the win. And in front of his team right now that is technically a top contending team. They're not nationals eligible, like we said. They want that conference title, though, come February.
Yeah, and they were in a similar situation last year, not nationals eligible, but still, like I mentioned before, playoffs to play for. And they had the same kind of circumstances in front of them. Last year fell short in the semifinal game against South Florida. Could end up in the exact same position this year, and it'll be in the Panthers ice den. So, and it just seems like crazy things happen on that stadium rink, Devin. I don't know what it is. Will Van Sicklen, if there's an MVP from like middle of October on in Division 3, it would have to be him. I mean, he's been unbelievable. Willie Van Snipes.
It's not just him, though, that complements this group. They have scored 6 or more goals in each of their last 4 games, and almost all of those have been even strength. Even wilder of a stat we dug up was that nearly half of their special teams goals have been while they're short-handed. You look at the last 4, 3 for 17 on the power play, 0 for 11 in the last 3, but they have 2 shorthanded goals, and they had none going into the series against Florida Atlantic. This Clemson team is scrappy. You talked about that, describing some teams around the conference. They embody what I think is everything college hockey South in a nutshell. They find a way to win, and they do it against the team that, in Florida Atlantic is still finding their way, but boy, did they make it entertaining on day number 2. Florida, we just mentioned in the M2 rankings at number 13 in the nation in the Southeast region, traveled to Ole Miss, and they put the whooping on the Rebels. 10-3 and 6-4 wins. Michael Katz, 3 goals and 1 assist in game 1. And for Frank Pasquale, I feel great for him in that group, considering that they have really lost a lot of guys through injury. You travel all the way up there, and you need nothing more than to just take care of business, and they do that.
Yes. We were just on the heels of talking about the rankings, and for Florida to climb, I don't know if this will necessarily help them all that much, but it's absolutely paramount that they needed to take care of business in this one and not mess around, and they didn't. Pretty decisive, 10-3, 6-4 wins. Becky Katz ended up with 5 points in the series. Liam Likashwa, I believe that's how you pronounce the young man's name. He seems to be the premier offensive talent on that group, but they really do score by committee outside of number 58 there. And Mikey Katz is one of those guys, really talented. May not put up the most points in terms of like popping off the screen, but is, I would have to imagine, a point per game player, and he popped off in this one.
And Gavin, we talked off air about not bringing up football such a long way, but this was a game that correlated to football. How about the Florida Gators competing with Ole Miss in that game? Eventually, the Rebels got it done, but I don't know why. Florida always finds a way in any sport just to compete. Like, they're never like trounced. They might lose to some teams that they shouldn't, but they're never out of a game.
I will say for this one, we can bring it to football because Florida wins this one, and they actually tag Lane Kiffin and are like,
Yeah, I
hey,
saw
Lane,
that.
come down to Florida. So that I thought was a little funny. Obviously a lot of talk, Lane Kiffin all over the place lately, but I thought it was funny that Florida wins that one and then makes it a point to be like, hey, this is recruiting as well.
Now what they got to do is have Lane Kiffin become a free agent, do a cameo, and promote the Florida hockey team. I think that's a strong enough case to get him down there to Gainesville. We'll find out in a couple months' time, but good win for Florida on the road here in college, or I guess I should say in open play against Ole Miss, a former College Hockey South team in M2. Alabama and Kennesaw State. We get the rematch of the Veterans Cup, and Alabama avenges this, what was a loss there, Danny. They get their first conference wins, 7-3 and 5-3. And with some guys that are young, a lot of turnover in their program, this is the best moment of their season, it seems like.
Definitely. Two extremely scrappy and in-your-face type of teams, and we didn't really see too much of that at Vets Cup. It may have had something to do with Alabama not having their full complement of skaters, but definitely saw it this weekend. I believe that my final tally was 107 penalty minutes on Alabama in that first game, which has to be the record for one team, at least what I've seen on the score sheets, and I've looked at just about all of them.
This thing got out of hand quickly. I know it's fun for us to say at home, but like these guys, we got a full on. You know that picture we saw the other day of the Red Wings and Rangers in that line brawl at the end of the game? That's what we basically heard about in Alabama and Kennesaw State.
Yeah, I don't know if the uniform matchup was quite as pretty in that game, but I figured that was a matter of time. You play the same team that many times in a short span, and like I mentioned, they're kind of scrappy teams. So, but big for Alabama coming back getting those wins. Matthew Kashkarian or Kioshkarin. I talked to, and I mentioned this, what was it, last week's episode? So many Alabama folks helping out at Vets Cup. No one could tell me a definitive pronunciation on his name. And I did play by play for both Alabama games, and I must have pronounced his name 4 different times. I feel so bad because he's a heck of a player. Kioshkarin, Kashkarian, not sure, but he's great.
They have a lot of great defensemen. I mean, 4 of their 7 goals in game 1 came from them, and him, John Owen, and Landon Class. Good things are happening for Alabama, and those are 2 teams that are on the fringe of the playoff. You know, Kennesaw State at 10, Alabama 12. This is going to help Alabama's case into making that top 12 teams in the conference playoffs. UCF traveled to Miami, and entertaining series. I mean, UCF gets the sweep. Miami, they needed something to hang their head high about because USF just took it to them, and they didn't disappoint in an entertaining one.
Yeah, looking at the most recent M3 rankings, I thought Miami's was the most curious. No offense to the boys down there in South Florida, but coming off of that drubbing at the hands of South Florida, they rose. And, this was an opportunity to, defend that ranking. Okay, so they actually dropped 1. They went from 19 to 20. But still, had an opportunity to defend that ranking against UCF, who was below them, and didn't.
Well, you speak it more eloquently than me. All I've got is our stats on it. And I mean, game 1, UCF wins in overtime from Kevin Flanagan, the hero. Game 2, UCF was up by a lot in this. And then Miami stormed back. They had 4 goals in the third. UCF matched it with 3, and the Knights go on to a 6-4 win. I don't know what to make of this UCF team. I don't know. Some weeks they're very up. Some weeks they're super in it. Other times, you see them have some weird periods like they did against Embry-Riddle game 1, specifically in the second. So, it's a good win for a team that's on the fringe of the top 25. They are, to our knowledge, nationals eligible. So, you think about how UCF stacks these and gets themselves a better strength of schedule. This is a good one against the team that you said didn't drop much after losing to USF. Speaking of USF teams, on the women's side, they played Florida. And how about these Gators? This women's team is making it happen. And they did it without arguably their best player, Marissa Bonilla. Not in this. The Gators win 9-6. And despite a Chloe Valente performance with 4 goals, it's awesome to see just a brand new program come out and find success, because that locker room has got to be buzzing for them.
Absolutely. That's their 4th straight win. They lost their first 2, including one to South Florida. And maybe they took our Marissa Bonilla banning to heart after we made her 3rd star of the week back-to-back weeks. We put her on Chunchakov Island, but she's still allowed to play. But no, I mean, scoring 9 goals and without your top producer. Also want to give a quick shout out Chloe Valente, who had 4 goals in this game. Just recently found out that she scored her 100th career college goal last month, which is a huge milestone. Unbelievable. I think she's over 110 now and nearing 200 total points. So Chloe continues to show up and show out. But the story of the day was Florida.
Gavin put together a great highlight tape that Will talked about. She tore it up at Columbus Classic and proved that she's one of the best teams in College Hockey South, but just a great personality. I think one of those players that we talk about every week, but for the right reasons. She's either being a leader off the ice, taking girls with excursions, or she's leading the way for them. And on the women's side for the playoff, which I think gets kind of on the back burner because we think about teams like Tampa that win all the time and how good Clemson has looked. But basically, I believe, is it 4 teams from each side go to the playoff or 10 total?
It is 3 from each division and then 2 wildcard teams. So as things stand right now, it would be Tampa, Florida, and USF from the South Division as the top 3 teams, and then Clemson, Alabama, South Carolina, and then the 2 wildcard teams would be Auburn and Georgia. So Florida in their very first year, Clemson in their very first year would be on their way to the playoffs.
I like how you explain that to the folks, right? 3 from each side and then a wild card. It makes it where you still have to play, if you're in the outside looking in, some competitive games down the way. You can manipulate what happens in the playoff. Definitely a long road for, I think, Florida and US. Just great to see that program start to break out. And that women's South Division, besides Tampa, is pretty competitive. I mean, USF and Florida are trading blows, and Miami hasn't always had the numbers, but sometimes they make magic, and it'll be interesting to talk about the rest of the way in the women's side of things. That switches gears into our game previews. Already week 12. Danny, just a pause. I mean, I don't know where the hell 3 months went. I mean, we are fully at the point where we can talk about rankings and standings, and we just want to thank all of the teams and all of the supporters for this podcast. Gavin, I think we're reaching close to 1,000 viewers all time, aren't we? Just thanks to everybody that's stuck with us on this new adventure for us, this new experiment, if you will. Sometimes I talk like a chicken with my head cut off, but I've got some great co-hosts with Danny, and we've had some others. Obviously, Gavin, a great producer. Let's keep it up, boys. Let's keep it rolling for week 12 of College Hockey South. Game of the week: Farmingdale State travels down to Tampa at Clearwater Ice Arena for a rematch of the 2025 AAU Men's Division I National Championship game. Tampa won that 5-2 back in Jacksonville, and Farmingdale State is a very good team in the ACHA this year. You look at their standings in the Northeast, number 2, and 10-1-0 is what their metric is in the ranking, just behind Niagara. Really a collision course, not just College Hockey South, but nationally.
Yep. Both Gavin and I were on scene for that national championship game, working with AAU, and I remember seeing just how emotionally affected Farmingdale State was falling short to Tampa. And they were really an underdog Cinderella team, if you will. I don't know if they would have viewed it that way, but they had to battle their way through some really tough CHS teams and upset them, made their way to Tampa, and Tampa just seemed to be too much. You may see a little bit more of the rough stuff because there isn't necessarily the postseason implications in terms of taking a penalty here and there. And Tampa, we know they're they're pretty liberal with how many penalties they take. So this one might get a little rough. The emotions are going to be high, but it's going to be exciting for sure.
I mentioned those records for the official ranking, but these are 2 11-win teams, and everything matters for seeding on these guys. These are 2 teams we expect to see at their respective regionals. I think for Tampa, it's going to matter a little bit more than Farmingdale. I just think the Northeast is going to be a little bit, not of an easier challenge, but teams that they can handle. Very much you're going to want to go out to Clearwater Ice Arena this weekend for that game of the week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch the broadcast on Black Dog Hockey. Florida plays Tennessee out at a Community First Igloo, a rare home game for the Gators as they play a vast majority of them on the road. And, this one matters just as much as anyone, because the ranking put Tennessee there at number 5, an opportunity for Florida to move up. And a Tennessee team that beat Tampa, I feel like, this is going to be one you can get the crowd into, really for all of Florida people that don't get to see this team that often.
Sure. And this also goes this will be the second straight week that Florida has a series that goes hand in hand with their football team, with Tennessee coming down to the Swamp. It's not the third Saturday in September, but huge, huge implications with this. I wonder if Tennessee losing to Fairfield a couple of times last weekend would affect their ranking and potentially put them in a similar place as Florida. Nevertheless, Florida and Tennessee, always a lot of emotion. And if we want to harken back to the national championships last year with AAU, Tennessee coming in with a whole bunch of momentum. They were one of the top seeds. Florida, not so much. They were up and down. In that first game, I believe the mayor of Jacksonville dropped the ceremonial first puck. Tennessee comes out guns a-blazing, like 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. And then the wheels came off. 6 straight goals for Florida. They end up winning it. And that was ultimately what kept Tennessee from advancing. So, probably some revenge on the mind of the Ice Balls.
Another series we'll have our eye on is Florida Southern versus UCF. Gavin, this is a pretty good rivalry, I believe, between these two teams. Now, Florida Southern coming off the wins against Lynn University in dramatic fashion. What can we see out of the Mocs here? We've been talking about a top 25 in UCF, but Florida Southern has, from what we saw, the second toughest schedule in men's Division III. So what version of the Mocs are we going to see?
Yeah, I think obviously they split the series with Lynn, one in dramatic fashion. Will Marshall continues to be a big part of that program. And these teams matched up last year, both ending in 3-3 ties. I was there for both of them, just very much deja vu. So I even was talking with Andrew Cass, and I told him this week, I was like, no matter what, all I want to see is someone win these games. If I see another tie, I'm going to lose it. So I just think it's going to be a good series for both of these teams. And Florida Southern needs this to really get into the rankings because they've played tough CHS teams so far. And UCF, we mentioned, on the bubble. So this kind of is a game to define both of these teams going into their second half.
Yeah. Our man on the scene at Florida Southern did a heck of a job with the broadcast last weekend. It was a clean looking broadcast. Nothing you can do about the enormous net in the way of the camera. What's the name of the arena down there, Gav?
Lakeland Ice Arena. It's the only one in Lakeland, so we appreciate them allowing us to get ice time and stuff and allowing me to do the broadcast as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no chirps. The net wasn't too obstructive. It's not like an enormous guardrail that covers the front half of the ice. And they've got the Florida Southern logos everywhere. Florida Southern hockey, which is sweet. Really, really cool look, for a team in college hockey South. So this will be a fun one. This one will be where exactly? Sorry, I didn't do my research.
So this one's a home and home, a little late one on Friday at 10:15. Florida Southern has the first game in Lakeland, and then they'll travel on Saturday and play UCF at the Orlando Ice Den at 4.
Can we expect to hear you on the broadcast? Yeah, can we expect to hear you on the broadcast?
Plug it. Southern Hockey Network. Go follow, go subscribe, go follow him on Instagram, everything. Because our boy Gavin, dude, you're improving every time we hear you on air, man. It's awesome to see you step up. And you told me the other day the Florida Southern parents are all behind you, right?
Yeah, a lot of the equipment was purchased by the parents. So a big shout out to the Booster Club for the hockey team. They really, really do a lot to put this on. I mean, getting all the equipment, it happened very quick. I was talking to him on Tuesday about maybe we'll have it for the weekend. And Thursday it starts showing up at my house and I'm putting things together. So we ran into some Wi-Fi issues on Friday, but ultimately got it figured out, and we're able to get the last 2 Lynn games of the weekend.
And I'll just say the last thing. I think that we talk so much about the statistics and the rankings and who's this and who's that. That is the epitome of what the game's about. It can happen like that. You can stress about logistics, and we're all in the same boat. We're all, former students close to it, you guys students, and we love to see it. So shout out to everybody involved with the Moccasins program in that regard. And now you get to watch Florida Southern hockey for free. Be sure to tune in for those games. Final games to preview: Tampa Women's 2 takes on New Hampshire. So second time Tampa's going to play a non-conference opponent. They lost to Liberty 7-1 earlier in the year. Not on the rankings officially for the Southeast region. We just had the Women's 2 rankings released, but as Tampa starts getting the actual conference games for Women's Division 2 and the non-conference in, you'll start to see their name pop up a little more.
Yeah, I would imagine. New Hampshire was 10th in the Northeastern rankings, so an opportunity here for Tampa. This was a late addition to their schedule. I don't know if they had someone drop out or if this was added after the move to the ACHA, but I know this was um, a late addition, and yeah, this will be a fun one.
In our 3 stars, the story for Tampa was, whew, golly, man. 7-goal, 2-assist performance by Joey Burns. Nothing win for Tampa. Oh my gosh, against Miami. The poor Hurricanes. This was classic Tampa women's score here. They controlled things, and she earns the 2nd star of the week. We're kind of going out of order with the 3 stars, but it segues into that. 2nd star, Joey Burns for Tampa with 9 points. 1st star went to Nathan Walker in Florida Gulf Coast for 5 goals and 5 assists. And Will Van Sicklen in the series against FAU, 6 goals, 2 hat tricks, and an assist in their second game.
Yeah. Joey Burns, I feel bad because first time seeing her name was on the roster at Columbus, and we definitely pronounced her name Joy the entire weekend. So I feel bad about that. Freshman from Chicago is learning from some of her teammates. Wears number 58. If she wore 98, I'd call her Joey Bedard with this kind of production. 7 goals in one game. Are you kidding me? Yeah, awesome stuff. Nathan Walker, first time Florida Gulf Coast Eagle being selected for a College Hockey South 3-star of the week, and Will Van Sicklen, Willie Van Snipes, man, the guy just scores. What else can you say?
You know, this wasn't in our game recaps. Florida Gulf Coast won 7-1 on both nights against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not a bad M3 program. They've kind of always played these two teams the last 10 years, the Fighting Irish. Kind of an off year sort of going for Notre Dame. Still an impressive one, and Nathan Walker leading the charge there with the 10 points. Denny, it's not often we get to talk about some good stories around the conference. This one featured a couple. First one we're going to start with is the conference announced the European trip is coming for the All-Stars January 1st through the 9th to start the new year in 2026. The players across all of the best teams in College Hockey South will travel to France, play against some international teams over there. They'll engage with those engage in training sessions. They're going to get to go on cultural excursions, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal. The conference has done this before, Danny. How excited are you just for the prospect of going overseas?
Super exciting, especially since I know some of the details that we haven't released yet, but I'm sure people are going to be excited to hear those things as well. Yeah, really good opportunity for these players, and we did announce 5 of those in our initial graphic. Yeah, so definitely keep your eyes out for more announcements and posts on all of our socials and on our website for the trip to Europe. Those details will be coming out in the next few weeks, and as the semester games wind down, some really fun stuff on the horizon.
Exciting stuff. I've never been to France, but make sure you guys go see the Louvre if it's open. I think they closed it a little bit ago for some reason, but fun stuff. January 1st to the 9th. We're going to keep it rolling here. Morgan Grisbowski from the Alabama women's team and their captain was named Homecoming Queen in Tuscaloosa. Co-founder of Alabama Women's Hockey Program earned the honor this past weekend, and a quote from them is that she helped establish the foundation for women's hockey at Alabama, excelled academically, embodies the values of service and leadership. I have never met Morgan, but sounds like an absolute treat of a person. And I know Savannah Prefontaine is big on character people. Congrats to Morgan and the rest of Alabama women's hockey on that accomplishment.
Yes, I've had the opportunity and pleasure of talking to her a few times since I've been with the conference now in my 3rd year, and this is the 2nd year for Alabama women's hockey. And yeah, super nice to deal with, very very helpful, and something that stood out to me is this past September at Columbus Classic with the girls try hockey for free event. There was one particular little girl that you could tell this was her first time skating, and was struggling a little bit. Morgan would not leave her side, and she had her patented smile going the whole time. So super happy for her, and it honestly doesn't surprise me at all with the kind of bubbly personality she has.
Things you love to see. That's a big deal. Winning homecoming at Alabama, I think that's like an honor only select people have had in the history of the whole university. So hats off to Morgan and all of her family and supporters there. Another person we got to talk about with support was Carrie DeGraff, former manager at Lynn University and director of ops for the Florida Atlantic hockey team. Been moved up to the show, guys. He's going to work with the St. Louis Blues as a client retention executive and somebody that through various just points of contact with Kim Casey, Christina Staphylidis, Kendall Rickard have said big on Carey. Somebody that, Danny, I believe you got to know pretty well too, and this sounds like just the perfect guy. How about this? We've gotten an equipment manager from Tampa and now a representative from Florida Atlantic and the show.
And also Bella up to the PWHL, which brings me to my point. So not this season, but the season before, Harry was going to be our director of game ops for CHS. It may have been like a couple of weeks or a month in, he accepted the job with the Ghost Pirates. Same exact situation with Bella this year. So I don't know if, whoever's listening to this right now and wants to be the director of game ops at CHS, it seems to be a trend, a pretty nice trend. One of those deals last year when we heard he got the job with Savannah, it was bittersweet. You're really happy that he gets that opportunity to work in professional hockey. But we're a little sad to lose him, but super happy to see the success he's having. And look, there's obviously a path to a career here in club hockey in the South, which, I think is a huge part or plays a huge role in growing it down here. It's having people not only just in the games that have the passion for it, but the people around it and that cover it and help with the production that are super passionate about it.
Well said. If you want to be in hockey at any level, professionally, collegiately, College Hockey South is the place to be. And Gavin's starting to rub his eyes. That's a good time for us to wrap up this episode. A long one, but a good one. Sitting down with Will Stephens and Danny and Cam and myself, and for everybody there, thanks so much for listening to another episode, another spiel from us about everything College Hockey Mouth. This has been episode 14 with Trailer Park Sports Network. Enjoy your guys' week. We will not have an episode next weekend for Thanksgiving, so enjoy festivities with your families, and we'll talk to you in December. So long, everybody.